Hello, everybody. And I'm here today, still without Charles, who's on paternity leave still, but we do have two very special guests joining FTF today. We have our longtime friends, Hannah and Laura from On Wednesdays We Read podcast, Our Pod, as it's called. And we're really excited to bring an episode on some favorite characters in fantasy today. And I want to give the floor over to Hannah and Laura now to talk a little bit about our pod. And probably a lot of you are already familiar with that. They've been on before, but they've got some new exciting things going on there right now. So, yeah, I don't know who normally does your
It's usually
these
me.
moments. You got it, Hannah? All
I
right.
got this. So, yeah, we are on Wednesdays We Read, a podcast that does a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. I think the last time we came on, we might have been covering Legend Board, but I can't remember fully. But we've done a lot of different seasons. We're currently on Bum, The Year of the Dresden, as we cover three of the Dresden File books this year during the summer. We are kind of dipping in and out of that series because there are too many
It's very
books.
long.
It's too long, and we don't want to cover only Dresden for like 2 years. So we're just going
Right.
to break it apart into little snippets. So we're doing that, but we also take breaks to do author interviews and discuss things that bring us joy. So this month, we had on Jordan Ifueko, who did the Ray Bear duology. So that we've been doing some pretty good stuff.
We also cover some TV and fantasy
Oh yeah.
TV and sci-fi TV too. And our most recent TV Tuesday episode was on Daredevil Born Again, and our guest was author Adam Bassett.
And Dylan and
Ah,
Charles have been on doing The Last
Yes.
of Us season one. So
Yes.
I have not watched Last of Us season two. Laura said I
Mm.
would be disappointed.
Wah,
So
wah.
oh, yes. I haven't seen that one yet either, season two. So you're in good company, or at least in company, I'll say. And yeah, it's always fun when you two come on. It's always fun listening to your episodes, and you always keep it very funny and entertaining and stuff like that. So if anyone hasn't gotten the chance to listen to our pod, please head over there. They're a total pleasure and a blast to listen to. And
thank
I
you.
mean,
Thanks,
Dresden,
Dylan.
yeah, of course, of course. I mean, Dresden, by the way, not something we've really covered here. So I imagine that it's covered
Rude
with
of you,
quite a bit
honestly.
of
It's quite rude.
yeah, quite a bit of
Are you
mirth, I'll
even
say.
fantasy fans if you haven't read all 17 books of the Dresden Files?
I have a
It's a
question.
great
How
question.
dare you?
Yeah. Yeah, we have read I've read the first two books of the series. I think Charles has read the first one, but um
We just covered the seventh book, and I will say that fans have told us that's the book you should jump in on, is the seventh book. So I feel
interesting.
like, Dylan, you should just maybe skip ahead to book seven.
Yeah.
But I also want fans to suffer through the bad books. So
Yeah.
I
So
guess
I've
it's
had
a
that's
that
choose your own
catch
interesting.
adventure.
22. It's the people who are like, well, do I want others to not pay for college if I had to pay for college? Laura's saying, should you
Yes.
enjoy Dresden or should you suffer? So,
I'm saying you have to read all of the Harry Dresden lore.
No debt relief
yeah, no debt
from
really.
Laura with her policies are
In
very
real
strong in
life,
that
yes.
regard.
In regards to the Dresden Files,
Please
no
don't add us. She
exceptions.
does support debt
Yes.
relief for college loans.
Yeah, I think
Let's not get this confused politically.
What a
I
hot
will
take to
say
come on fiction or Friends Talking Fantasy and be like, college debt. I'm a fan. Like,
I didn't
For
think
the
we'd
record,
be
I did not say that. We can rewind. This is a video format. Go back, rewind. I did not say that.
yeah, we can see who said that. Who knows? It could
who
have been
knows?
This
any of
Could be
video
us.
will
anyone.
likely be
Yes.
edited by Dylan, so
Right.
I'm
If
not
only
sure.
you're safe because I don't know how to edit anything. So
Thank God.
Until Charles gets back, we're stuck with reality, like the
Oh,
things that actually occurred in the order that they happened. So,
I would
um,
prefer you to edit it all and Laura to just start screaming, release the Snyder cuts.
yes, definitely.
It's like my
I,
mouth is moving, but it's actually Dylan's voice.
I will say the like start on book seven thing. I mean, if it works, it works. I feel like a lot of times the the
Wild
thing is
choice to
more
do
like,
that.
oh, the thing like the series really picks up on book seven. You just gotta grind through those first six, and I'm like, it's a really big ask for me
Yeah.
to spend like I don't know how long, but like let's say 40 hours of my life like getting to the point where it's like, oh, but now it gets good. It's
But you
like,
know what you could do? You could just listen to the first six books covered on our pod and then start on book seven where you're going to have a fun time. And
That's
that's a
true.
happy medium. So,
And
that's
it's not near as
perfect.
long.
Yeah. It's not as long as the Dresden audiobooks.
no.
Just
No.
okay. Well, that's definitely an option, but for those of you who love the Dresden Files, I'm sure there's a lot that you're going to enjoy and also certain things that they'll probably make fun of and
Or be mad about, but
slightly
please
upset.
be nice
Yeah.
to us.
But yeah, but be nice to them. They're good people. And they're here to talk about some of the good people that we read about in fantasy. And I think we basically said favorite characters. Did we say favorite characters in fantasy? Or was it just,
We
it
That's what
was,
we assumed.
it's
we
all over. You
assumed.
assume, okay, it was implied.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
We've
feel
got
like
some
when you're coming
sci-fi
on
too.
Friends Talking
that's
Fantasy
definitely
and
in the
we're like,
mix.
it's only murder mysteries, you're gonna love
Right.
it.
I
This
was
is a
thinking
random
earlier.
romance book.
I was thinking earlier because you cover quite a bit of fantasy, but you do cover many genres.
Yes.
So I was like, I don't think I said favorite characters in fantasy. I think we just were like favorite characters. So I was like,
Friends
they'll
talking lit fic.
probably put it together. So, but I'm glad that you're here to talk about some fantasy, and I'm really excited to hear which characters you've chosen. I have no idea coming in. So, though
Are we gonna
Laura
hear some
did
of your
inform me
favorites, Dylan?
we can. I mean, I didn't
Okay.
prepare, but I'm happy to talk about some if that
What
You
helps.
kind of podcast is this? There's no
Well,
prep, no
no one
editing.
wants to hear my favorites. I've talked about them probably a bazillion times, but if it will make you feel better, I'll just go off the cuff and talk about some of my favorite characters
We'll circle back
in
at the end.
between. We'll circle. It's like
Feel
when
free
you're
to
at
jump
the
in.
restaurant and there's the like person that has been sitting at the table with you the same amount of time, and you're like, we all figured out what we want to eat, and then it gets a time where the server comes to take your orders, and they're like, I'll just go last. And it's like, why did you procrastinate on this project? That's me at this point. So I'll just go last in our
Perfect.
first round here, and I'll let whichever one of you wants to go first take it from here. Let's hear one of your favorite characters.
Well, I think Laura and I are going to have a lot of overlap because we
Hmm.
do read a lot of the same fantasy series. But one on our list that I think is a standout is Murderbot from Murderbot
Mm.
Diaries.
And I think we
Uh,
can say at the same time too, Art,
Art from Murderbot
who
Diaries is
is,
also king, queen, whatever art wants to associate itself with.
yes.
uh,
I think we're
these
both kind of drawn to Murderbot though as a character because
I
of
thought you were saying Murderbot. I
No,
don't
we
really
are saying
know.
we are
Murderbot,
saying
but there
Murderbot.
so Murderbot,
Yeah.
you've only read the first
Yes.
book, right? So
Yes.
Oh.
he doesn't even know who Art is, Laura. Just the
Dylan, we
horror.
have to
But
stop now. You need to go read a novella.
Do I have to like read the book in between?
I'm sorry. Listeners, we have to stop. Dylan needs to go read a novella and then we'll come back.
Yeah, I'll just be back, you know.
No
Just
editing.
riff in the meantime. I'll just read a book, you know.
we would love to do that actually. But no, Murderbot is someone we're both like in love with because Murderbot is so relatable and has so many different layers. How do you not love a beautiful killing machine who only wants to watch TV? Like that's a
There's just
perfect.
this like relatability to the awkwardness and the desire to help people that Murderbot has, and also the reluctance to help people and the frustration with others. And I think that Hannah and I both see bits of ourselves in Murderbot. And I don't know if anyone has watched the show. I watched the first two episodes of it last night, and I will just say that Skarsgård has perfected some of the facial expressions that I was hoping for in Murderbot. So I just really love the character and all that Martha has done with Murderbot.
Well, and if you go on in the series, Dylan, which you should do immediately after
Yes.
we hang up with you, but
Yeah.
Murderbot has so many different layers, and there's such a growth of like mental health with Murderbot and actually like processing your own feelings. And Murderbot is someone who thinks that like it doesn't have those feelings or it doesn't matter. And then later on, it's like, oh, wait, like something is actually affecting me. And I think that's very relatable to just humans in general who think they're fine until they're not. And it's just such a wonderful series, and it's wonderful to watch Murderbot change over the course of the series, where it starts off as kind of isolated, and now it has like this great confluence of friendships, including Art, who you will get to meet in future installments, and is a sentient ship
Ship.
that Murderbot gets
Mm.
to talk to, and it has its own feelings and its own motivations, and it often wants to fight with Murderbot about like philosophical things and different things because it sees the world in a very different way than Murderbot, and they're good like parallel characters to one another that interact really well. And
And
Art
also
is
just
just
like such a
adorable.
sweet relationship between the two of them. And I don't know if Murderbot fans are all aware of this, but there was recently a short story released over on Reactor that Martha Wells wrote about Art specifically, and it
Mm.
gives you all the feels. So go check that out.
And famously, we had her on the podcast, and my husband tried to deliver me a bowl of soup while I was interviewing her, and I had to shake my head on camera.
That's
So,
brutal.
I did try to lock her into more Murderbot Diaries, though, people. So I'm doing the work.
Aren't those the best moments when you have an author on and then you can like peer pressure them into something? It's like
It didn't work
it's
very
like
well.
it
I'm
didn't
trying,
work.
but she was like, "No, I've already got a
Shh.
contract. They only said a couple more." And I was like, "But
she miss
Martha."
she misspoke, and she was like, well, I have like seven more in the series or something, and Laura was like, seven, okay, good. And she was like, no, like I have seven overall. It was like very funny that Laura did try to trick her. So
Yeah, I tried to lock her into like seven more. Okay, you already said it. We're good. Oh well.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Having Martha Wells on, I freaking love Murderbot too. At least the first book. I know, I didn't
You'll
get
love the
time to
next
read the
one.
second in between the, your earlier statement and now. But I I will say that that's got like one of the best introductions
oh yeah.
to a character possible. I don't have the opening line off the top of my
Oh,
head, but
Laura's
Let me
got
of
you.
provide
course,
that for
Laura,
you.
yeah, Laura
Let
has
me provide that.
Laura's real background involves books that she can just take and read. Not to
Dylan,
say
grab one of
any
your
of us
books off the
here
shelf
Yeah.
real
are.
quick
Yes,
there
of
while
course,
we're.
I
I'll read
too
this
could
while
do
you're
that.
grabbing some.
Yeah,
Of
you grab
course,
one of
if you're
those
on,
books and you read us an opening line
yes,
right now.
if you're watching the YouTube, you understand what's going on, and if you are listening on Spotify, like 95% of the people that
Oh,
enjoy
that's
this
unfortunate.
product,
I'm sorry, Spotify
you
listeners.
aren't. Yes, you aren't be able to appreciate that Laura did just grab Murderbot from.
So I'm holding Murderbot in my hand, listeners, and the
Yes.
first line is I could have become a mass murderer after I hacked my governor module, but then I realized I could access the combined feed of entertainment channels carried on the company satellites.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's pretty rare you can just get across the essence of a character in like one sentence, but and I see Hannah, those of us on the visual media can see Hannah kind of trying to prevent an eye roll, it looked like there.
No, no, I was
But
thinking about the fact that like there's also something genuinely beautiful that Martha Wells decided that Murderbot was going to be super into like soap operas. Like
yeah,
that is beautiful, and it's
Sanctuary
not
Moon.
Sanctuary Moon,
yeah,
and that's not talked enough about. Like that's beautiful. It's such good details.
It really loves
yeah,
the drama of it all, and that's kind of how it learns about interacting with other people. And I think that that is actually such an important thing to bring up because we do learn about interacting with other people through media and through art, and it's an important way to get to know others.
Yeah.
yeah. That's for most of us science fiction and fantasy fans, it's like the main way we figure out how to interact with people. No, just me. Okay. So,
You said it. I mean,
yeah.
uh,
Okay, well that's a great choice. Laura, are you piggybacking on Murderbot or you got
Hannah and I both had Murderbot on the list, but I'm going to share another one that
okay.
we both had that was similar, and that's Bree Matthews from the Legendborn cycle by Tracy Dion. And this is
Hmm.
kind of like a Arthurian legends type story, like where it's a YA story where these college students are
Well, high
kind of
school
learning
slash college.
high school slash college students are learning that they are actually connected to the Knights of the Round Table and King Arthur, and they are in a very serious situation where they have to basically go to battle to save the world. And the series is great because it handles so many deep themes of racism and trauma and colonialism and just a million different things, honestly. And this character of Bree is taking on literally the weight of the world and all these other things in an incredibly short amount of time, mind you, because the pacing in this book is fast.
Wild.
But
Like sometimes it's unbelievable because you've read about 1,000 pages and she was like, nigh 2 months ago, I was learning all about this. And we're both like,
she's like,
excuse you.
2 months ago, we've been here for years.
Yeah.
But it's a phenomenal book, and I think Hannah and I both just really appreciate the things that Dion has done with Bree as a character and all of the just strength that this character has emotionally, as well as like her strength in terms of the fantastical element of the character too. It's a fantastic series, and I really think that it has wider appeal than just YA readers. I think that fantasy readers in general will really like the series.
Yeah. There are certain moments where you feel your age, aka every single love
I
scene.
mean,
You're
the
like,
love
these are
scenes.
teenagers, and I don't care for it. But yeah, Bria is such an amazing character. She deals with so much, but she's also a person through it all, which I think sometimes in YA novels, when we were reading them, it's always like the most just character and they do the right thing no matter what, and they never have a feeling about it. And if they do, it's frustration that no one else is being just. But like Brie is a person who wants to help others and can sometimes make mistakes because she's trying to help others, but like you're always rooting for her and you're always rooting for her to have her own peace because she doesn't get a lot of it in a very short amount
Hmm.
of time. So it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely want to check that series out. It's I feel like I'm not averse to reading YA in any ways, but it just ends up not getting on my radar as
Yeah.
much because I'm
I
in
will say
the
this one has
like
gotten a ton of hype online that people
yeah.
really, really love it. So you might be surprised. You might enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I'm trying to remember, Hannah, we like buddy read
We did the
oh
Gilded
geez, what the
ones.
Gilded Ones, the
Mm-hmm.
first book of that one, and I loved that one.
Oh
It was
yeah.
actually a
That's a great
really
series.
It's
yeah,
really good.
yeah,
That
really
that
clever book.
it's very clever. I will say if you guys are getting into YA, you have to get used to the breakneck speed because that is just like teenagers don't need a plot to sit. They need a plot to keep moving apparently because you're
I
reading it
think
and you're
it's one
like,
of those
"Ooh."
things fantasy authors are like, this is for old people, so I need to explain every single thing. And
Mm.
YA authors are like, they get it. And
It's fine.
that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny too, because sometimes then you see like books that have that kind of pacing getting like falsely labeled as YA. Like I
Yes.
think of
Mhm.
people always label the Poppy War trilogy, not always, but a lot of people you'll see they'll label the Poppy War trilogy as YA. And it's like
Mm.
if you read that series, like the content of it, that is not YA in any
Yeah.
sense. But I think they're grasping on there. I think there's a gendered piece of it where
Yeah.
like women are more likely to get
A
like the
YA
same if the same
moniker.
exact book was written, it's more likely to get labeled YA when a woman writes it than a when a man writes it. But also I think sometimes the pacing gets
Yeah.
people thinking like it's YA just because it's breakneck speed, but the
Hmm.
content's not that at all.
No.
Yeah, I don't know that I really agree with that labeling. That's
I can't imagine
a
giving a
little
full
much.
a 14-year-old the poppy for to be like, you're gonna love it.
Yeah,
Yikes.
it's wild. But all right, well, those are awesome choices. I am now ready. Everyone else has ordered. I'm gonna.
This the waitress is
I
already
was
coming
reading the
back asking how we're
menu.
enjoying things.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's already like fully in. I'm like, so these appetizers, the mozzarella sticks, like, does that come with a marinara sauce? But what I will go with, I was thinking, okay, I'm not just gonna be like, this character quote I really like, blah blah blah.
Mm,
Like, I'm gonna try to do something. Though this is a very popular series, this is the Farseer trilogy and also just the larger Fitz series by Robin Hobb. It's probably a character that folks haven't heard me like talk about nearly as much as I've talked about, let's say, Quoth or like Logan Nine Fingers from First Law or something. But I feel like if I'm just saying like favorite character, uh, that fits Chivalry Farseer, the main character of the Farseer trilogy and some of these further on series, has really risen up there for me. And I'm gonna say, you two, have you read
I have not.
the Farseer trilogy or those?
Nope.
Okay, well, highly recommend it. And I'm sure you've heard about the series and that kind of stuff. And uh, Fitz is often labeled, I think Charles calls him like fantasy's favorite doormat, which
Mm,
is not usually like I always talk, oh, I love proactive characters and stuff like that. But Fitz, who to introduce him a little bit, he's uh, basically the bastard son of like the would-be heir to the throne. But then because of like the controversy surrounding him, that heir to the throne ends up like going into exile, and then he's just kind of this like royal bastard who doesn't really have a like place in the line of succession or anything like that, and he's just like hanging around the castle. There's a little bit more to it. It's called Assassin's Apprentice as the first book, and he is being trained to be an assassin. And I I picked this book up for the first time like probably over a decade ago. And I was like fresh off of like Game of Thrones and being like, it was like, uh, oh, like I read some list that was like, what are your favorite characters in Game of Thrones? Of course, I'm like Jon Snow. And among others, actually, like Tyrion would be my favorite there. But anyway, Jon Snow's in the mix. And they're like, oh, like check out
He's
oh,
okay.
the check out the Farseer trilogy because it's like, oh, there's this bastard son and blah 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 blah. But like, he's not really anything like Jon Snow, and he's not like a placed in the hero position the way that Jon Snow is at all. It's just like I would say the closest thing to like a psychological case study that you're going to find in like an epic fantasy setting is being in Fitzchivalry's point of view as he just like mostly struggles with like the inner turmoil of being in a pretty powerless position while also being like surrounded by really powerful people and like rubbing. Do people rub shoulders or elbows?
they rub
Shoulders, right?
elbows.
They rub
Elbows.
elbows? Okay, that's good. I'm glad I clarified. So he's rubbing elbows with all these really powerful people. He's being trained to be a royal assassin, but he's got like no agency. And how he kind of struggles with that and his position. It's really, really interesting. And you also like, it's not a spoiler to say the name of the series down the lines are like Fitz and the Fool and stuff like that. And the way the story's told is kind of in a like, I'm reflecting back in first person to my like youth right now. Like you do get to follow him later on in the later series. So then you're picking up with the next like Fitz series and he's like basically around maybe a little bit older, but basically around my age now. And it's really interesting because, like, the first time I was reading about him, I wasn't quite as young as he was then, but like a little bit closer to that. And then getting to read him like when he's in his 30s and like
You're
dealing
like, oh,
with some of these
we've been
more
together a
like,
long
How did
time.
you time that out
yeah,
so well to read that
like
at the exact same ages as the character?
yeah, I didn't mean to, but I
What a happy
reading now, I'm
accident.
like, yeah, well, it's a funny story with the, I won't go too deep into it, but I actually didn't love the books the first time around, and I DNF'd the series the first time around. Like I finished the first book, but I didn't finish the whole series because I was like, there's not enough action. And then, you get, or I did get older and like less need for everything to be like fighting and dragons and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, actually, this is like a really like amazing slow burn psychological profile of like this person. And
You you went and got a psychology degree and you said,
yes,
It
now I can
sounds like the timing
basically.
of this is really
Yeah.
parallel to your career.
Yes. Yes. So it's interesting. You watch like him grapple later on with like things like age and the existential crises that kind of come with the 30s and so on. So it's really interesting. It's good
That
seeing him
sounds almost
evolve
horrific
and
to have to deal with some of those crises too, honestly. 30s
yeah.
are rough.
Yeah, it's not easy, and when you're fit, it's he makes everything harder. But that's what we love about him. So he's been really top of my mind when it comes to favorite characters, and I thought maybe I could spotlight someone other than like someone from King Killer or like First Law, which I do all
I
too
think
much.
I think that would be brand new information if you loved those series. I don't know what you're talking
Right?
about.
Who wrote King
Yes.
Color again? I can't remember.
Yeah, no idea.
Oh.
Though rumor has it that book could be coming out any time now, Laura.
Don't
I
start that
mean,
rumor
that
here.
third book, yeah.
We're gonna have Laura's Discord blowing up again. So,
Yeah.
well, next up on our list, I think you might have read this one, Dylan, but Misaki from Sword of Kaigen is on both
Charles
of
has
our
read
lists.
it. I
Oh,
have
you have
not.
not. Well, buckle up
Yeah.
because
You need to read it.
it's an amazing book. Did I join a Kickstarter where I paid far too much money for a beautiful edition? Yes, I did. Like, but Misaki is one of the main characters. She's someone who was trained to fight, but later became a mom. And I think something that's very interesting about her is just her overall internal monologue, because she's someone who doesn't feel close to her children starting out. She feels very isolated from them and she
Mm,
has trouble connecting. And throughout the book, she shows up again and again for her family and for her husband. And it's a unique storytelling device that I don't think it's like we don't see it too often in fantasy, where it's a struggle of motherhood. It's seeing someone who's a little bit older, not someone who's coming in starting on the scene like she's already lived a life, and she's already like lost the love of her life, and she's already married the person that she didn't really want to be married to, and now
mm,
she's kind of looking back on her life, and I think she makes the choice over and over again to be satisfied with the choices she's made and move forward with them and really delve deep into what it means to be an active participant in your own life. And we did this last year for Mega May, which is something I host, and I feel like we had a lot of people who just felt deeply connected to this character, and
mm,
I think it's a
A lot
very
of
well.
women, especially, were
Yes.
very connected to this character. I think Hannah and I really love this story just for the representation of womanhood and a different type of representation that we don't always get in fantasy, where we do have that aspect of a mother who is very much questioning her role as a
mm,
mother and a wife. And I just wanted to add on to like what Hannah was saying that the relationship portrayals in this, especially Masaki and her husband, are so complex and heartbreaking and also incredibly well done that I would really highly recommend people read the book.
It's gorgeous.
yeah, I definitely want to check it out. It's really high up on my list. I know Charles read it because it was one of those books that everyone started pushing toward him when they found out he had never cried from reading a book. Of course, it did not make Charles cry because we don't know if his tear ducts work properly. But the the things that I've heard are really interesting, though I haven't really heard this character. Remind me of her name again.
Misaki.
Misaki.
Misaki, uh, like highlighted as often. So I'm really excited to hear you two talk about her. It sounds like there's like this illustration of like ambivalence about motherhood and like maybe some like postpartum, at least like distress, if not depression or whatever, like that kind of
Yeah,
depicted.
I think that that happens a lot on the
Mhm.
page. And you
Mhm.
also see like people who struggle with like infertility. Like it's a very
Hmm.
beautiful look at motherhood and in a very like stark way. So
There
there
are
is a
also relationships between women in the series as well that are handled really beautifully too.
yeah.
Mm, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like that's something the what I've seen in my both like learning about psychology and some of my practice as well, like working with clients and stuff like that. Uh, Postpartum depression is something that is extremely common, like just distress postpartum. Like the stats on it would probably blow some people away, but
Yeah.
then it's something that even though it's extremely common, a lot of people who experience it feel so much shame about in part because it's like not really depicted commonly and like there are these societal messages about like
Yeah.
oh
Women's health in general,
especially
let's be
well
real.
yes not
I mean, you're preaching to
yes
the choir, Dylan.
Did my psychiatrist recently tell me you should try a Prevacid Complete because it really helps with your PMS? No one knows why. And I'm like, what? Why is that the answer?
No
Like,
one knows why.
no one
oh
knows
geez
why. Like,
yeah.
my favorite type of diagnosis. So,
Mhm.
You've been diagnosed with no one knows why. Please,
yeah.
here's some SSRIs. But yes, so I'm really excited to hear that, and does make me like even more want to check Sword of Kaigen out. And I know there's like another book in that world that came out recently, right? Like,
I don't know if it came out.
am I
I know
I
wrong?
don't think so,
there
but
was another
Oh,
book in the world that she pulled because that is the
mhm.
one thing that happens in Sword of Kaigen that like if you don't know why it's happening, you're very confused because this new character gets introduced
Yeah.
and it's like it feels like he's very important and it's because he has a whole nother story about himself
oh,
somewhere else
okay,
that you'll never read. So
Mhm.
like that is the
gotcha.
one weird part of Sword of Kaigen, but it's like this book is just so stellar.
Mm. Well, that's really cool. It's a good reminder because then you know I have all these books on my like want to read on Goodreads and stuff, and then it just becomes like now I have too many, so I don't even want to look at it when I'm deciding my next book, and I pick
Yeah,
something random.
that's fair. I do that all the
Yeah.
time.
Well, I'm gonna divulge from Hannah and my mutual characters and bring up a couple of characters that I think Dylan, you might have read the series The Bloodsworn Saga by John
Yes,
Gwynne.
yes,
So we were just talking about like excellent representation of women, and Hannah and I are always like looking for this in books, and specifically we're like asking men to write better women. John Gwynne has it figured out. Read John Gwynne. The Orca and Elvar
mm,
are two of the most excellent fantasy characters I've ever read. I just love the representation of women in these books, and Orca and the depiction of motherhood, and Elvar and just her drive and desire for greatness is fantastic. And that's not to say that these aren't flawed characters at many times. And I appreciate that these characters within the Bloodsworn saga are not just like bastions of goodness or,
yeah.
like, oh, she's a terrible bee that's always on her period. That's why she acts like that. I think they're just
Is that Hannah's
incredibly.
psychiatrist that you're
That was
Yeah.
doing
Hannah's
You need to
psychiatrist
impersonation
get
that
of?
some
said that.
Prevacid Complete in them.
Yeah.
So
Never gave a diagnosis. But John Gwynne did an absolutely phenomenal job writing Orca Skull Splitter and Elvar. Uh, I I'm just so in love with this series, and I can't say enough good things about the characters. And I really appreciate that we have heroines who are entering into battle, that are mothers, that are having relationships, that are making mistakes, that are not always doing the right thing, and a lot of times doing the best that they can. And in a really action packed and also really cool story. It's a Norse mythology, like
Mhm.
Viking-esque series, and I am totally obsessed with it. Can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, that's an amazing series, and just absolutely gorgeous book that I am seeing behind you as well, or
Yes.
you're highlighting some of
My babies.
the best. But yeah, so this is everyone probably familiar with the cover by now of Shadow of the Gods with the giant
Bleak
dragon and
Rifa.
then the little little warrior for scale. It's like one of the best, maybe my favorite cover in all of fantasy.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you, Laura. The benefits of a real background shining again. So I'll say so. Orca kind of goes without saying. I almost feel like because like I
Elvar's a more controversial
like
choice, honestly.
yes, that's kind of what. So I want to give props to Orca because she is that good, and that's why everyone talks about her, right? She's like the sort of taken Liam Neeson gender swapped kind of
Yeah.
thing going. She's really fantastic. But I'll say Elvar was actually, if you listen, I think we talked about these books.
You
I
finished
don't
the
think we
series,
talked
correct?
like I've read the first two. I haven't read the last one. Yeah,
Dylan, stop. Go
I
finish
know.
the series
I've
now.
like I'm getting assigned homework. It's like so I'm gonna have to go read that right after I'm done with the next murder bot.
I will
But
recommend the
I'll
audiobook. Colin Mace does a great job.
I will that would make it easy right now. I'm like just starting to really get back into being able to read things after moving and the audio. Though I am audiobooking Legends and Lattes right
Oh,
now. So
beautiful.
yeah,
Love.
so that's fun. But what was
I will
I? Oh yeah,
say
Elvar.
Elvar is a controversial pick, but I
Yes.
think I stand by it because in the series as a whole, I think that Gwyn really just gives the character a really meaningful story arc. And I
Mm,
really appreciate, for better or for worse, all the things that happened with Elvar. And I know there's a lot of people that really kind of harp on that character in particular, but I think it's just incredibly well written. And again, I'm going to fall back on we can't always be holding women up to just be constant bastions of goodness. And that's why I really appreciate Elvar for being a flawed character as well as being just incredibly driven for greatness and wanting to have her story told once
mm.
she's gone.
Yeah, I she stuck out to me actually. Like if in our episode that we talked about Shadow of the Gods, years ago, I talked a lot about Elvar and how much I liked her arc and where she was going with the idea of striking out on your own and kind of fighting to build your own legacy independent of like
Her
some
father, yes.
expectations that would be surrounded based on who your father was and all that kind of stuff. Like I that had me really excited, and I feel like people don't talk enough about Elvar, so I'm glad that you brought her up more. Hannah, have you read those yet? Or
I have not, and Laura can't assign me that homework because if she assigns me homework, it means I won't do it. So she just has to leave with
I
like,
just mention it all the time and then I never say anything about it because if anything about like trying to twist Hannah's arm to read it because I'm like she'll never do it if I mention
I
it.
I am a youngest child at heart, which means I'm stubborn. So
yeah, I'm the youngest too. People always say like that. Not always. People will say that about me, where they're like, "Oh yeah, like you won't listen to my recommendations." I'm like, I don't see myself through that lens though, so there is like a like, Hannah, at least you're owning it in a way that clearly I'm struggling to.
I think this
But
comes from like 5 years of friendship with Laura because she will just point it out, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, dang, she's
And
not
we've been
wrong.
friends like 12 years.
Yes, but like for a long time we weren't recommending each other books. Like we were just reading and saying like, "Oh, I liked this one." But like in the last 5 years where we both got super into like reading and recommending books to people, Laura would be like, "You realize if I tell you you should read a book, it like goes last on your list, right?" And I was like, "I can't argue with that. She's not wrong." So
So now I just do this like kind of passive thing, like passive aggressive thing where I'm like, these are so good. I really wish someone would read them to
yeah.
talk about it with me in a podcast format.
I really just love this. So yeah.
I would really love to talk about this on a podcast. If only I was on a pod. Oh, I am on a podcast, but it would be so weird if I just talked about it by myself, wouldn't it, Hannah? Like, Is that's kind of
I
the
mean, I do
strategy,
talk
huh?
about it by myself often in the recent months. So go back
Just
if you want some more love for the Bloodsworn Saga. Check out a lot of the Our Pod episodes from this year because I've been raving about the Bloodsworn
yes,
Saga.
hmm
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't wait to read it.
yeah, I don't
Or
know. I'm
not,
like,
or now you won't.
should I be like, well, Hannah, like, definitely check it out, or is that going to be
Don't
counterproductive
say
at this
anything, Dylan.
point?
Just tell us your
I
next pick.
My next pick is from Susanna Clark's Piranesi,
Oh,
and it is the titular Piranesi. I mean, I think that it's again, this is trying to be a little different than my like typical go-tos for favorite characters, but I feel like the the wonderful thing about Piranesi, besides the like mystery around him and stuff like that, and you got this interesting epistolary style of writing to these journal articles. The thing that sticks out to me, so Piranesi, we don't, I won't give away a lot because,
This is a tough
as
book
you
to
all know,
describe.
this is yes, but I feel like the character, the charm of the character won't be too hard once I weasel my way out of how to describe the larger setting, which is basically he's in this like big mystical maze kind of thing, like the house,
The
and
Labyrinth.
he
Hmm.
the labyrinth. Yes, that's the right word for it. And he is. This is where you can tell I didn't prepare. I was reading the menu last second, but the he's in there and you don't really know why, you don't really know what's going on, and neither does he really. And you're kind of stuck really close to his point of view because you're reading basically his journal entries. And uh, the fun of being in his point of view, I think, is his uh, it's almost his innocence is
yeah.
the way that I would describe it. Is he's so like genuine and heartfelt and trusting and you just, I feel like these days don't get a lot of these like just uncynical, endearing characters like that. And I feel like, and I read a lot of this like grimdark and all this kind of stuff. So like, I love that too. But I think that Piranesi sticks out as a contrast because he's so endearing and good and well-meaning, and I really enjoy being in this. And he's
Well,
curious, right? He
Laura,
doesn't just, yeah, go ahead.
I
Yeah.
was not to talk over you, but if you want some heartfelt characters, we got to jump down to one of the other books behind Laura, which is Psalm for the Wild Built, because you
Yes.
would adore that. Very
So
heartfelt
would
character.
this be cozy fantasy? Would that be the category
Cozy
of cozy
sci-fi-ish.
sci-fi? Oh,
Yeah.
so it's Becky Chambers, who I've read.
Yes.
I'll say because I've read The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet,
Yes.
and she writes extremely like heartwarming character. Right, cozy fantasy is kind of, and I guess this is cozy sci-fi at least. Like I've heard Long Way described that way, and I know. Oh, yeah, you're. Oh, jeez. Can you hear that?
What was that?
Nope.
Are you hearing this right now? No? Okay. Yeah, there's like an alarm going off behind me,
Oh,
but if
Oh,
you can't hear it,
no,
then that's
nope.
we're
okay.
good.
Okay.
We're good.
So,
And we all know we can't hear it because you can't cut this out. So
oh no, I we have to listen to me say, "Do
Can
you
you
hear
hear
that?
that?
Do you hear that? There's an alarm going off." Okay, no. I mean, we're in Miami these days. You never know what's going to happen. But these headphones, they're like preventing the sound is really an
beautiful.
exciting thing for, or it's not the headphones, it's the
It'd
microphone,
be
I
the
guess.
mic, I
Yeah.
would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
You guys
Well,
with your fancy tech.
that's pretty impressive. But
Yeah.
I will say, Dylan, I am surprised by Piranesi being a character that you think is just like kind of this good character that's so sweet and everything, because I don't want to spoil the book too much, but I think readers need to go and listeners need to go and read it because things get pretty dark when we find out what's actually going on with the
do
character
you think of the
itself.
character that way as
Not
though
the character
he
is dark,
is?
but a lot of the
Yes.
situation is
I
very
wouldn't describe
dark.
the book as
Yeah.
being cozy fancy or anything
No, no,
like
no.
that. If
But
that's what it sounded like, then I definitely take it back. But the the character himself is extremely endearing. And yeah, we'll dance
But
around
when you
any
consider the
spoilers about.
situation, it seems so dark.
Well,
Yes.
it's tragically beautiful. Like I love
Yeah,
that book. That's one of the books that I
it is a
like
great book.
hand to people and I'm like, "Please go read this. Thank you."
Yeah.
Unless they're the youngest, which I say you will never enjoy this book. Don't read it, and it will make them read it. So,
And then they read it right away.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
If this makes you read it because you're like, oh, Dylan said this like a little charming little book, and it does look like it could be a charming little book that doesn't, and there are points where it feels like that,
You'll be
but yes,
shocked.
there is a lot of darkness to the book itself, but I do believe Piranesi as a character stands out as a truly like endearing, good soul. So uh, that makes him one of my favorite characters. And that book is freaking phenomenal too,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
as y'all I'm sure would agree.
yeah,
We talked about that
Yep.
book on
Hmm.
was it on
yeah.
our show?
It was
We
your
I'm
show.
like
we
I
were
know
talking
we
fantasy
had
with
that
our friends.
conversation, but
You
were
had a bunch
we
of us on because you were obsessed with this book, and then you
I
made
was
me
obsessed
obsessed
with
with the
this
book.
book
So,
because yeah, we had fiction fans on too,
Yeah.
right?
yep,
Yes, the whole crew was there.
yeah,
So yes, Piranesi, great character,
perfect.
great book. Mm, don't read it thinking it's cozy fancy.
Well, I don't know how much time we have left, so to let us
Yeah,
know. We
where
could
are
always
we?
do honorable mentions, but um, next on my list is probably two characters from the Greenbone saga, which is Lan and Hilo. I adore these
Hilo is also
characters.
on my list.
I
Yeah,
think that
the
these like I love the series overall does such a good development of all the different characters, except for giving Shay a pretty bad edit towards the end, which is why she's the only sibling not on this list. But like Lan at the beginning of the Greenbone saga is such a good like titular leader who's in kind of over his head and trying his best to build a better future and not knowing where to go with that and just wanting people to get along and making mistakes because he does believe in the good of others and he does believe that structure and doing the right thing will get him to where he needs to go, and it can often mean that he makes mistakes because he's just trying to be the best leader that he can possibly be. And I really enjoyed reading about him. I really loved his character. I felt very connected to him as a character who's like being developed on the page with us. And then you have Hilo, who is a character that we just see grow so much throughout the books, and his mistakes are often because he loves people. And I think that that's also interesting, where he wants to protect those he loves. And so he reacts in certain ways that make, situations either unsafe or it makes him make mistakes in the long run because he feels so closely and it's so like on the surface for him that he needs to help others. And he's just such a dynamic character that by the end, you just love him so much. And
Yeah.
he's changed so much from the character at the beginning of the book where you're
Yeah,
like,
he's
you're
another
kind
one
of
with an
annoying.
yeah.
incredible
Like,
character
yeah.
arc.
It just, Fondly does so well at developing Hilo.
Also,
And
Fondly, how dare you? Like,
like, how dare she write
how
an
dare you
epic
make us
family
sob like
drama?
that?
Like,
You had
yeah.
Fonda on, if I'm remembering
Yes, and we
correctly,
said to her, how
too.
dare you?
Yeah, Laura
As
made her answer
as
for
you
her
should.
crimes. So,
Yes.
Her
uh,
crimes against the No Pig Clan.
Laura said, "Give me your jade. We're battling." So,
Yeah.
Hilo
Yeah.
starts off as this just like almost terrifying monster of a person. And we, like Hannah said, just become so enamored with him throughout the series that by the time we get to Jade Legacy, we're just like totally understand and love you, Hilo, for everything you do, even if it's a horrendous situation. We support you.
even when he makes a horrible decision, and you're like, "I can't believe you just did that," and you're like, "But I understand you were doing it for the family," and you're like, "Am I on the side of a crime boss?"
Are
Like,
we the baddies?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great call. I feel like the some of the beauty of the Greenbone saga is uh, in three books that aren't, they're not the longest books ever as these epic fantasy, if we want to call it that. It's kind of more urban fantasy, I guess, but
Yeah.
go, right? We're used to reading these epics that can be 1,000 plus pages. You all know the Wheel of Time experience, we'll
Oh,
say.
yes.
And uh, I think the time skip helps this, but you don't feel the time skip won't do it on its own if you don't make it feel earned. You feel like you have known these characters in the sequence of just a few books that aren't ridiculous tomes. Like you've known them for a lifetime.
Yeah, you're in the
And I think
trenches with them.
Hilo, yeah, most of all sticks out
Yeah.
as a character that you're like, I feel like I've watched you like grow up. Obviously, he's not like a child at the start, but he's like
I mean,
you've
close.
Yeah, he's like
yeah.
in his early 20s. He's just kind of being an
Yeah.
idiot, just doing whatever he
Hmm.
wants to do. Like, and he's someone who at the beginning knows where he's supposed to be in life, where he's like, "Oh, I'm slotted in. I'm gonna be the muscle. I'm going to do all of these things to help further the family." And then he's has to suddenly be a different person, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful watching that
Hmm.
growth.
Right. For sure.
Yeah,
That's an
and
awesome
Jade
choice.
Legacy, I think, is probably my favorite book out of that trilogy. And I think that that is a really rare thing to do to get so many
Agreed.
readers to love the third book the most. And
Yeah,
it's all just credit to Fonda Lee for being a great writer.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Laura, what do you got next on
Yeah,
deck?
you got
Just
one
a second. Let
more
me
or
move my dog. He
Yeah,
keeps
she has a
trying to
dog.
get in
oh
here.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, this is I did the alarm thing. Like
Yeah, so
this is
this is real life,
this is
everyone.
how life works, okay? This isn't your this isn't your edited whatever. Like I don't know how to do that.
If I can, what do
So
they
we're
call it in
stuck with
Congress when you're
this.
like, if I can reclaim my time, I'm like, oh, Florida needs more time. I'm like, I can reclaim, I can throw another fave out there.
I yield my time to the floor. Um, I am going to actually bring up Dylan, a character
Mm.
from a Becky Chambers book that you read that
Oh,
you just
okay.
mentioned,
Yes.
Long Way to the Small Angry Planet, to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Actually, you could pick maybe any character out of this
It is
book.
one of those,
They're
yeah.
so great. I love all of them, but I think Sissix in particular, the pilot of the Wayfarer, who is an Andrisk, which is like this species that is like reptilian and has these feathers all over it and everything, and they grow up in these communities where they have like unique parenthood situations and relationships, and Sissix is this very like affectionate and warm person who really connects with others and has this deep empathy for others. And I just really love the character in general, and I really loved getting to have this glimpse into Sissix's life on their planet as an Andrisk, and then also kind of seeing some of the situations that happen later on in the book where Sissix was kind of forced to enter into a situation with a character that she didn't necessarily like the most. And I just thought it was really just a credit to a well-developed character that we see the empathy really shine through. And I think that all of the characters in this book are just incredibly heartwarming and well written. I know a lot of people go into a sci-fi book expecting a lot of action. Don't expect a ton of action here. This is
Yeah.
very much a character-driven series and novel, and it's about the characters and their relationships with each other and how they grow and understand one another. And Sissix was really a standout character for me. After I read the book, I was just like so in love with it. I even was like sketching Sissix, doing fan art. Like I'm not going to show it to anyone because it looks bad, but I really really loved Sissix.
You know when it reaches the creating fan art stage, like
It's
It's
that's
real.
deep.
legit. That's legit love for a character.
Hmm. It's deep.
Yeah. That's that I think you're right. That book you could pretty much like pick out any
Any
character
character you
in
want.
the whole crew and just be like, well, this is one of my favorite characters ever. And I that's one of those the
I will say the
long way
same
to
is true of the second book too. I loved all the characters in that one.
Does it, is there are there a lot of changes to the characters? I haven't read past the first book. Like, is it new characters
Okay, can I
or
do a little bit of spoiler?
Spoilers.
As long as they're warned, skip
Okay,
ahead if
skip
you,
ahead a
Starting.
couple minutes
yeah.
because I didn't know this either going into the second book. I thought we were really just picking up with the characters we left on the Wayfarer.
Yeah.
It does not. It jumps into a new group of characters.
Interesting. I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I kind of just assumed the same, like you're saying, like, oh,
It
well,
was
then
a
where do you
little
want me to
bit
go back?
disappointing
And
and shocking, but you do come to also love the new characters because Becky Chambers is really great at just like taking your heart and just crushing it because she knows how attached she will get you to these characters.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the things is when it's a great author like that, you're just like, okay, like, I'm not pumped about this, but I'm just gonna trust you.
Yeah,
And usually it works out when it's an author like Becky
yeah.
Chambers.
Yeah, fair
All
enough.
right, well, we're back up to me, and I'm gonna
Order
cop
some
out.
fries
And
for the
yeah,
table and
it's like yeah, that's a great move. If you order fries for the table just to start, then people will be like, "Whoa, like I never really thought about that, but we could all just like, eat some fries
eat
before the
some
meal comes
fries.
out." Yeah. I'm I'm gonna do the equivalent of that and say that I really like Locke Lamora from The Lies of Locke Lamora, because that's what's coming to mind. It really is like a character. I probably literally the first time we had a like favorite characters in fantasy episode, which was probably like within our first like 5 episodes. Not that much has changed, and Locke Lamora remains one of my favorite characters. I will say that uh, there's a part of me that just is very inclined to enjoy these like rogue characters, like the always with the lying and the coming up with these wild plans and the hijinks and the heists and the but Locke to me is the uh, this is Scott Lynch's Lies of Locke Lamore, if I didn't say that already, but probably most people listening to this podcast know that. Um, he is to me the epitome of that rogue archetype. Like all other rogues look at Locke and think, I wish I were you. So I'm going to dress up in a costume and pretend that I'm
Yeah.
you, as all good rogues must do. And I think that where Scott Lynch's writing of Locke probably shines the most is in the dialogue and the banter. Like he comes up with just wildly unique ways of swearing and insulting and things like that. But I will say with Locke, there's kind of a good uh, heart of goldish, not quite gold, but maybe bronze element underlying a lot of it that you get to, especially as a series carries on, you get to see like this isn't just a guy with a quick wit and a master plan. Like he's also someone that very much like cares deeply and has a lot of like people and like even just beliefs and stuff like that that are extremely meaningful to him. So he's got everything you could want from the like classic rogue nonsense, but because I feel like rogues are often kind of resigned to like a secondary role in a larger troop, I feel like a series that really focuses on the rogue as the main character and has a great writer like Scott Lynch doing it, Locke just really shines. So every
I
time I
thought you were
play
gonna say he's got
D&D,
everything you want in a man for a
I
second,
thought
and
you
oh,
were
I was
he's
gonna.
like,
I was
everything I
like,
want in a man.
I almost expected you to be like, guys want to be him and girls want to date him. Like,
I
he's
mean, you
everything I
said it.
aspire to
No,
be.
I think
he's the
in
wind
some
beneath my
ways
wings.
I will say the maybe I shouldn't encourage this, but I will say that every time I play Dungeons and Dragons, I play a rogue, and it's pretty much because I love Locke Lamora so much. So there is an element. Maybe I need to talk to someone more deeply about this to uncover exactly what's going on. Who knows?
You
Maybe you're
should know some
touching
people
on
within
things I'm
industry.
not aware of. The problem is when you know the people, then you can't have them be your therapist. That's the
Come on.
problem.
I do.
There's these whole ethical things. So that's why I have
If
no
there's any
one to
therapists
talk
listening
to.
right now,
Yeah,
Email
who don't
FTF
know me,
podcast.
right?
Who doesn't know too
And,
much about this one
ask me
because
about Loch Lamora and what might be going on there.
Just send a
But
couple
I,
of friendly emails.
yeah,
I
the
do have
thing
a
we do
friend
know
who
is
is
I
a
like him as a
therapist.
character
I have a
and
friend who's a
maybe more.
therapist, and when she is shopping for therapists, she's like, "Well, I can't use that one. I might want to be friends with them later." So she feels your pain.
Yes, that's definitely my pain. So so I think we've done a really good
Yeah.
mix of characters here. I mean, if there's any honorable mentions you just want to throw out there that you feel like didn't get their due, go right ahead. But I'm
I think we're good.
I
yeah,
do
I'm
want to throw
gonna.
out a couple actually.
Okay.
I'm gonna
yeah,
throw
go
out
for it, Laura.
Thorfinn from the Vinland Saga by Makoto Yukimura, and also Gam Gam from the Chronicles of Gam Gam by Adam Holcomb. They are both fantastic characters. Vinland Saga is another favorite of mine. That's like a Viking manga, and it follows a character Thorfinn who is on a quest for vengeance for the death of his father. And
Mm,
Chronicles of Gam Gam is the first book in the series is a necromancer called Gam Gam, and as the title would suggest, it's an elderly woman named Gam Gam who is also a necromancer, but she does a wonderful job helping other characters in the series handle grief and loss, and I really appreciated Holcomb's portrayal.
nice. Well said, Laura. No monstrous then.
I had
On
monstrous
there.
on the
We did
Yeah.
have
list.
Monstrous on this list,
What about
actually.
Micah
Little
Half-Wolf
So,
was
Fox?
on the list.
Micah is
yeah.
gonna get the.
Hmm.
I love Little Fox. Little Fox is my.
If I,
If I had prepared, Little Fox might have come up
oh,
earlier. But
well,
um,
You were
we
going on
did.
and on about how nice Piranesi was, and you forgot all about Kippa. I see.
I was just thinking about Locke's dreamy eyes, and I just
Now you're
couldn't
just
think of
bringing up
Kippa.
old episodes where we all sat here, the three of us, saying, I don't understand how the magic system works. And Charles said, You guys don't read the interlogue.
Can I just say I have now reread that series many times, and I'll reread those sections, and I learn something new every time. Where I'm like, I missed this before when I read Professor
You
Tam
think of
Tam's lecture.
Charles when you're reading Professor Tam Tam's
He
lectures,
probably memorized it all in just one read.
right? Definitely. Yes. That would be classic Charles. He'll be giving the Tam Tam lectures as soon as he gets back. We'll expect him to do that on the spot,
Beautiful.
years after
Can't wait to watch.
he read Monstrous. Yeah. Well, uh, Hannah, Laura, this has been an absolute pleasure. It's always so much fun when you two come on, and
Thanks for
we'll
having
have
us.
to, yeah, of course. We'll have to make sure, or, well, I'll just say, I'll have to invite you on sooner next time. I mean, FDF, has been like on and off itself
Charles will have to
quite a
go on
bit
paternity leave
lately. Yeah,
again.
Charles keeps having kids. It's like,
I guess he's
it's like I
busy
feel
raising
like.
children.
Yeah, I feel like Fitz in his 30s looking around being like, why is everyone having kids? Why can't anyone talk to me on the internet anymore? But instead, I'm really happy that we got to chat. Let's hear one more time where folks can find our pod, both in terms of the actual podcast itself and like any social media and stuff that you want to shout
Yeah.
out.
We on Wednesdays we read Our Pod is available wherever you can get podcasts, including recently YouTube, because I finally figured out how to post them from there.
Nice.
Um, and you can find us on social media at OWWR Pod on all the social platforms in which we exist on, mostly Blue Sky and Instagram, which is how we
That's where
share
we're
it. Because
active.
yeah, that's where we're active, but we're on other ones technically, and you
Just
never
Do
updates.
know
you
So
still
when
have
things will
a,
be
yeah,
shipped. We still slowly, I've just stopped posting on
I don't
the
either.
system that
The
must not be
artist
named.
formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah. We had it for a while for updates only, and then I slowly was like, I don't really want to post
yeah,
on there anymore. It kind of bums me out. So,
we're on Blue
um,
Sky and Instagram
and
and
we have,
Discord
Yeah.
if you want to
yes,
reach us.
and we
And
have
Laura,
ourpod.com. So,
What if people are like, well, books are great or books are good, but goats are great? Where could they find
Yeah,
you?
you can find me on Instagram at Good Books Great Goats,
Mhm,
or I'm over on Blue Sky at My Pod with three Y's.
mhm.
And then
Yep.
Hannah is on Instagram as well.
Yes, at brews.and.books. So, because it's just not as quippy, and I don't own goats, unfortunately. So,
People
Yes,
only
one of
come
your
to my social
greatest
media for the
flaws,
goats.
Hannah, is the lack of owning
keeps me
goats.
up at
But
night. Why don't I own
yeah,
goats?
hmm, we all feel that way, except Laura, who,
Yeah.
I'm up at
sleeps
night
like a
chasing goats
baby
that get
because,
out.
yeah,
So
well, yes, that is true.
I'm
I've got
like,
to
why
get
are
on
these
Blue
goats out
Sky.
again? How did they
It's,
figure out how to get out all the fences?
How dare they?
yes,
Well,
well,
where can people find FTF so that you can share
I
all
don't
your
know.
things?
I don't know. They can find FTF. I don't use Twitter anymore, the artist formerly known as Twitter, really, but you could follow us at the FTF Podcast One if you want to hold out hope that it will ever not be what it is right now. I do uh, at the FTF Podcast on Instagram. That's probably the place I'm most likely to do anything. And we are at the FTF Podcast on TikTok. But yeah, I gotta get on Blue Sky.
YouTube.
That's
Yeah,
the
on
YouTube,
YouTube.
of
Look for
course. Like,
YouTube.
please watch us on the YouTube channel. We're
Therapists
trying
can
to.
email you at the FTF podcast at gmail.com.
We do
Charles
also
is
have
going to
a
be
TikTok.
confused.
I forget
Yeah.
about that. I started posting on our TikTok,
Oh
so
yeah, we have a
follow us over
TikTok, right?
Are
there.
you
Yeah,
do,
we
Yeah.
you're
do.
like actively doing it? Are we?
Yeah,
Hannah is.
I'll,
yeah,
If
yeah.
I haven't followed you on there, I'll be sure to. I don't know if we're friends on there yet, but that's because I don't know what I'm doing anymore when it
That's fair.
comes to social media. But
Yeah.
yeah, I anyway really appreciate y'all coming on. This is so much fun, and I don't have a good sign off, so I've just been like mumbling and then eventually being like, "Peace." So I'm gonna do that to the listeners right now or and viewers. All right.
Uh,
Bye, listeners.
bye.
Peace.
Bye.